Hello there beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joesephyr and welcome to another Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Now today's video should be quite a nice short one because we are expecting some banners to turn up on Thursday along with the Global First Boss Rush event that we're going to be getting. So while we don't know exactly what the Boss Rush is going to entail or even necessarily what the banners are, we can take a pretty good guess at what might be on there. So today we're going to be covering Relm and her LD, which I believe will be the weapon that features on this banner, and I'm also going to cover a second character in Porom and her C90, and I will explain why when we get to that point in the video. So if you'd like to know more about these two and ultimately whether you should be pulling on any of these banners, then stay tuned and keep watching. Now before we get started, of course, don't forget to check out all of my social media links in the description box below, including my Twitter, Twitch, Discord and Patreon. You can find me streaming all sorts of things over on Twitch, so it'd be lovely to have you come and find us over on there, including every Dissidia event as it goes live. Over on my Patreon, I do shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video so that I can show my thanks to each and every one of you that decides to support this channel, and today that person is going to be Tillatron, who has been a supporter of mine for a while now, so a massive thank you goes out to you, and they have Alize and Alphino as their title card, and obviously that speaks to me on a very fundamental level, so a massive thank you goes out to you. And if you would like to consider supporting the channel and getting all sorts of various benefits, then be sure to click the link in the description box below. And finally, of course, don't forget to check out all of the other content creators and resources out there for Dissidia Opera Omnia as well as myself, because everyone deserves the love just as much as me. So before we get started on talking about the two characters I want to talk to you about today, let me start by explaining why I've chosen these two characters to talk about in advance of the Boss Rush banner. So there was another banner that should come out with this that will feature Gilgamesh BT as a rerun, but that is another rerun banner and we don't expect any upgrades or C90 stuff there. So whether you pull on that is down to whether you want to collect anything or not. However, there is a spanner in the works when it comes to this event that we may have to consider when it comes to choosing whether Relm ends up on this banner or possibly even Porom. And the fact that Porom's name was not listed on the DET9 banners makes me think that possibly she could be the character on here, because with Vincent LD coming out, which is where Porom originally debuted in the JP version of the game, we already have Vincent LD as a thing. So whether they shuffle things around or not with regards to this and put Relm here so that there is a brand new LD being featured, I don't particularly know. So what we're going to do is we're going to feature Porom here just in case she does get pulled forward, and if it turns out that she hasn't been, when we get to the video for DET9, I will just use this video as a point of reference. So talking about Porom's rework, she actually only gets a rework to her LD board, but it's quite a large one in terms of her getting a lot of damage output. So Twin Cast Double Flare does 4 HP dumps. She starts with the buff that comes from it as well, which is a huge thing because it enables her to do her follow-up attacks after all of her moves. And then the actual Twin Conviction damage attack that you get as a follow-up is now going to do 3 HP dumps instead of 1. And this is actually huge for Porom because it means that she's actually keeping up with damage, where she's always been very good at keeping the party alive thanks to what her LD and her EX already do, that she's now able to join in. She's actually a very, very, very good unit for Dimensions and Transcendence 9 if you don't already have her. Her EX obviously begets her C90 as well. The recast rate of White Wave goes up, which is always a plus. You're now going to get 4 AoE 100% HP dumps, which means you're getting 7 in total when you include the Twin Conviction follow-up. It's a lot of damage for such a support and healer heavy character that honestly it's quite hard to ignore. I imagine that people who have been playing the game for a long period of time already have Porom, because when her LD was released it was extremely hyped and with good reason as well. So it's nice to see her come back and hitting with full swing. It's actually very nice to see. I actually didn't use Porom all that much the last time she came out, believe it or not. Even though I pitied her and I spent loads of resources getting her, I just never really felt the need to use her. So it would be nice to have a reason to pull her back out again here. So the banner that I think is more likely to turn up with the boss rush here is going to feature Relm and Cait Sith. So I'm going to briefly touch on Cait Sith, and obviously this is going to have been pulled forward if it does turn out to be this banner for the Boss Rush Global Exclusive, which means that we're not going to see Vincent BT on this banner. We will more than likely see Prish instead. So if that turns out to be the case, we will be getting reruns of Relm LD, or reruns of Relm and all of her kit, as well as her brand new LD, and a rerun of Cait Sith and his LD. So, talking about Cait Sith to begin with, Cait Sith does get a slight rework, and once again a massive shout out to Leo, Bob and Mediu for their translations over on Reddit. They're extremely helpful to me and the entire community. And it's nice, once again, to see Cait Sith doing damage. Like, he's never been fantastic at it, but Toy Soldier ++, which is equal to the number of, which upgrades depending on how many buffs you have across the party. So if you like using Ram's BT effect, I actually really like Cait Sith in general, because he can keep everybody's buffs topped up nicely. And he turns all of his attacks into AoE 100% HP damage, which is fabulous. And then Lucky Girl, which is the main thing to do with Cait Sith. A lot of us have used Cait Sith LD call in the past, and it's still very, very good here. Because what it does is makes it so that every bravery hit gains bravery while also dealing damage. So you get a lot more bravery out of each of your brave hits than you would normally. Prish obviously covers this in a very different way by just adding more bravery hits, but it's nice to have options, and Cait Sith works on the whole party, whereas characters like Alize and Prish don't outside of Prish's BT effect. That now deals 4 HP dumps, and it lasts for longer if you're using Cait Sith in your main party. The C90 now has 4 AoE brave dumps in it, or HP dumps in it, and makes it so that he gets some interesting stats out of it. But, you know, Dice isn't the greatest attack in the world. It's relatively useful, although I will say the fact that his C, or his AA ability, has brave gains up on it after C88 is very, very helpful. Would I use Cait Sith in my main party now? Probably not, but the fact that he is better means that if you wanted to get more out of Lucky Girl than just the call ability, it's definitely nice for people who already have him. So now let's talk Relm. Now, if you've not used Relm before, Relm's main gimmick is the sketch debuff that she applies through her skills to her enemies. She's a turn warper, basically. When using Sketch Plus, she can warp her turn to just before an enemy acts, and while the enemies have the sketch debuff on them, their attack is lowered, and whenever they take a turn, Relm gets a free turn straight afterwards. El Nash has done something similar as well in the past. So Relm gets a rework here, and her Sketch Summon skill is also very unique in that it applies different elements or different abilities based on which summon you've taken along with you. So there's lots of different ways of doing this. It's not quite as relevant now which summon you take as it used to be, because once upon a time we could use Relm in various like chaos difficulty missions because we could get elemental damage, or early Lufenias even, where you could get early elemental damage without actually having an elemental character, because Relm could kind of cover it. But now it's just been warped so that it has multiple HP dumps in it, so that her damage is keeping up. Sketch Plus also has 3 HP dumps and splash damage on it. Her C90 basically is another way to apply the sketch debuff, and does 4 AoE 100% HP damage attacks, and that's quite nice. And then Sketch Long, her AA, just makes it so her brave damage cap goes up, which is very nice for her. But the LD is what you're obviously going to be after in this particular instance. So the LD is kind of awesome because of what it does in terms of flavor, in that it is a sketch of Ultros, and Ultros is the big part of Relm's kit at this point. So really, you're kind of pulling for him if you're liking Ultros, and that's kind of why I want her. So what you get is you get multiple, like 4 HP dumping attack, you get sketch debuff applied once again, so pretty much everything she does applies a sketch debuff, and she also gets 12 of action, or 12 turns of a brand new buff that increases her HP damage and the party's bravery damage, brave gains, and also makes it so that her HP attack changes into a 3 HP dumping attack that extends her buffs by a turn, when she's on the free turns granted to her by Sketch. So the best way I can think to look at it at this point is almost like a roundabout version of a trap. So she lets the enemies get their turn, they do their thing, Relm gets a turn straight away, and she'll typically use the tentacle attack. So Ultras will come in, slap the enemies around, deal 3 HP dumps, or if you've got the EX up, you'll probably want to use that because it's 100% AoE 4 HP dumps. So Relm's damage can actually be really high if you're using her correctly. If you're using her in combination with either a trap-based character like the Emperor or a counter-tank like Galuf, who would ordinarily be out with his C90 by the time Relm came around, but now it may end up being the other way around. And you could find that she's actually very powerful for DET9. Mainly because she has an E-Sphere. She has E-Spheres in slots in her kit, which means that you can give her things like Laguna Refined Sphere to make it so that she's dealing multiple debuffs, which is the Lufenia requirement for DET9, because the Sketch debuff is applied through most of her skills. So you find that she's actually quite a prominent debuffer as well. So if you wanted a character that could give you a little bit of fun, a little bit of smoother sailing through DET9, because she wouldn't have been released by the time that came out in JP, and there's every chance she might not be for us as well. I am literally stabbing in the dark by guessing that Relm is going to be the banner that we get on Thursday. She might not be. Then I definitely would encourage at least some tickets for her. I think that if you've got Kadaj or something ready for DET9 and you're not too interested in her, she is ultimately a damage dealer with turn warping capabilities. Pretty strong when it comes to off-turn damage dealing. Do you absolutely require her? Not by a long shot, but she can be very fun in the right hands. So given that we don't really know the full details of what's coming around with this boss rush event, again, I'm going to put this out there, I am stabbing in the dark when it comes to what's on this banner, whether the banners are going to be what's going to be on them, what the event is. If Relm is on them, I would imagine that there's a Lufenia orb to do with turn warping. If Porom's there, it's probably something to do with taking reduced damage. I actually don't think that Porom is especially likely here. It could be every chance that her name not being on the slide with DET9 could be an oversight and she might just come out as normal. But typically speaking, I don't think they've ever done that without some sort of purpose beforehand, so I at least wanted to speak on Porom just in case. So let's move on to Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to let your voice be heard and tell everyone whether you would or wouldn't pull on a banner and why that might be the case. So once again, a huge thank you goes out to all of my patrons for casting their votes and their comments, and if you would like to be part of the discussion that we have over on Discord or anywhere else, then by all means consider clicking on the link in the description box below for Patreon. So let's go into some numbers. Nobody is pulling on gems with this banner. 21% of people have said that they'd like it and they want to spend 100 or more tickets. 53% of people said that they'd spend less than 100 tickets, and this is probably where I am. And 26% of people have said no thank you. I'm in the less than 100 tickets because I'm like, I can live without it. Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm probably not pulling very heavily on anything between now and like Kane with FR stuff starts up. Maybe Edge. But if I were gonna pull on a banner for Prish's cycle, it probably would be Relm. Like Scythe, a lot of people are more interested in her than they are in Relm, but I like Ultros. I kind of like the silliness, and I like turn warping shenanigans and off-turn damage. So I would quite like to get Relm, but I can certainly live without her. Anyways, let's go into some comments. Doma Dragoon says Relm is open for commissions, though she should probably be a little more discerning when claiming that she'll draw whatever you want. I still like her plug-and-play elemental style and would be fine throwing a few tickets, but I don't see her as essential or worth chasing hard for. Pretty much the same. Like, I like her, I don't love her, I would like to pick her up, but I'm not going to be too fussed if I don't get her. Kellen says we're getting 2 banners here, so it'll be interesting to see how they're split up. I'm personally hoping that if Relm is here, Prishy's on the same banner so I can try and get her BT. Relm sketch warping has always been fun to take advantage of, and with C90 she's brought today's power level standard. However, as it's right on the cusp of FR era, this may not be the best time to go for LD, so I'll go for free pulls, maybe toss 100 tickets in and walk away with something or nothing. I'm interested in Scythe anyway and want to keep my stash of tickets for her. I'm fairly sure there are free pulls on these banners, but they're the only banners this month that do have free pulls. So, hey, if you get lucky, all power to you. And then finally, Kirinator says, as a new player, I'm lacking in necessary and essential LDCAs. Cait Sith being in the banner is a good reason for me to throw some tickets here. I actually do think that Cait Sith is still a fantastic LD call, and seeing that he's able to do damage now does make him elevated to a point where you could use him in your main party, whereas before it was really quite a slog to bring Cait Sith. Would I bring him to everything? Like I said earlier, no, probably not. But for newer players, I can imagine that he definitely has some value. So yeah, thank you very much for all of your comments there, guys. So let's ask that big question. So, should you be pulling for Relm, Cait Sith, or Porom if it turns out that she is one of the banners here? Assuming that the banner is Relm and Cait Sith, I would say that it depended entirely on where you were at the game. For a new player, they're pretty good. Like, Cait Sith LD call is still really fantastic. He's certainly not dead weight in your party anymore because he can keep up with damage. And Relm is fun. Like, I would like to obtain Relm because I think she's a bit of a giggle. Like, she's not anything super crazy on the power front, but she has the kind of playstyle that I enjoy, which is off-turn damage, free turns, turn warping shenanigans, all of that stuff. I really enjoy that kind of playstyle, and the fact that she still has her elemental shtick is quite fun, and to have Ultros join in is also hilarious. So, do I think she's necessary? No, absolutely not. Unless you are really, really pushed for units to bring along for DET9, where she could actually do very well. She has Blind in her kit as well through Sketch Plus. She has Turn Warping and an E-Sphere so that she's able to apply debuffs if necessary. She could pair up really nicely alongside like either Galuf or Sephiroth or Kadaj, somebody that can like really protect her, or Porom even, if she turns out to be here. But if she's not here, she'll be on the DET9 banner anyway. So she's fun and she's useful. Would you use her a lot in Shinryu era though? Probably not, I don't think. If Porom turns out to be on the banner, which, as I said, is unlikely, but I'm covering her just in case, and I'll refer back to this video once she does come out if she's not here, then her damage is vastly improved. Like, she didn't get an awful lot in terms of actual changes, but what she did get is a huge improvement to her damage. By having multiple HP dumps on all of her follow-ups and her EX, she's churning out way more damage than you would think she would, considering the fact that she's attaching those HP dumps to life-saving skills like her White Wave or her Mysidian Brilliance are fantastic abilities for keeping yourself alive and reducing HP damage you take on scary turns by 70%. It's a huge deal. So it just puts her back in a place of solidarity once again. However, like most of the banners this month, if not all of them, many players are going to take this opportunity to save them for banners that they know they want something on. So Kain, Camlanor, Tidus, we're not that far off from that era starting. So putting yourself in a position of safety to pull on those banners for ones that are more heavily desired by many people is going to be preferable for a lot of players. So I think unless you're like sitting on a lot of resources, which I know a lot of players are, then I probably wouldn't push myself to pull here, even if I think the characters that may or may not be on this banner. These banners are a nightmare for us content creators, by the way, for this exact reason. Like, there's reason to go for them, but you could also just leave them. So that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Let me know in the comments below who you think this banner is going to have on it, because quite honestly, I have no idea. I'm guessing at Relm, and I've got Porom as like a backup plan with at least a smidgen of evidence to suggest she could be, but I don't really know. So let me know in the comments below what you think these banners might contain, and let me know if you're pulling on any of them if you think that these are the characters that are being shown here. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on future videos I might be making, and I will see you next time, beautiful. Have a lovely day. Take care.